Have you ever dreamed of living your golden years with complete freedom, unburdened by the weight of others' opinions and material possessions? Imagine embracing authentic beauty, saying no to unnecessary obligations, and prioritizing your own happiness without guilt. In this video, we'll delve into the transformative journey of life after 70, uncovering the secrets to a fulfilling and liberated existence. Stay with us until the end to discover empowering strategies and heartfelt stories that will inspire you to reclaim your joy and live authentically every single day. Don't miss out on the key insights that could change the way you experience your later years forever. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. The freedom of not worrying about others' opinions. Throughout our entire lives, many of us have carried the heavy weight of others' expectations, often unknowingly shaping our every decision to fit the mold of what others think we should be. From childhood, we are taught to seek approval from parents, teachers, friends, and eventually, from society at large. We strive to meet those invisible standards, whether it's about how we should dress, how we should act, or how we should shape our lives to fit someone else's vision of success. But something magical happens when you reach 70. After decades of navigating the complexities of life, you suddenly experience a profound shift, a revelation that frees your heart and soul. When you begin to truly grasp, perhaps for the very first time, that others' opinions do not define your worth. This realization is not just a thought, but a deep, liberating truth. It's like shedding a skin you've outgrown. Suddenly, you realize that you no longer have to shape yourself to meet anyone's expectations, and the sense of peace that comes with this understanding is indescribable. It's as if you've been carrying a heavy burden for years and are finally able to set it down. You see, at 70, you've lived long enough to understand that no matter what you do, someone, somewhere, will always have something to say. There will always be someone ready to judge your decisions, your choices, and your very way of being. But here's the beautiful part: you realize that it simply doesn't matter anymore. What truly matters is how you feel about yourself, what brings you peace, joy, and fulfillment. You stop living in the shadow of others' opinions and begin living in the light of your truth. The pressure to please everyone dissolves, and in its place, a deep sense of self-acceptance takes root. You understand that life is too short to live according to someone else's rules or to chase after their approval. The freedom that comes with this is breathtaking. It's a return to authenticity, to living according to your values and desires, something many of us haven't experienced since our youth. It's like rediscovering a part of yourself that had been buried under layers of societal expectations for so long. And yes, there will still be people who disapprove of your choices. They might not understand why you've decided to take a different path, to prioritize your happiness over their approval. But here's the truth: their disapproval is irrelevant. What truly matters is that your choices bring you a sense of peace and satisfaction. You no longer need to explain yourself, need to seek validation from anyone but yourself. This, I believe, is one of the greatest gifts of growing older, this incredible freedom to live life on your terms, without the constant burden of wondering what others think. It's a time of embracing who you are, unapologetically and wholeheartedly. It's a time of living authentically, with no need for justification or explanation. And in this authenticity, there is immense power. You are finally free to be you completely, beautifully, and without compromise. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. This liberation is not just a gift, it's a triumph. After years of striving, of conforming, of bending under the weight of others' opinions, you finally reach a place where you can simply be. And that, my friend, is a gift worth celebrating. The freedom to live without the weight of others' approval is, without a doubt, one of life's most precious rewards. At 70, this realization becomes a doorway to a life filled with peace, joy, and deep, unshakable self-love. 2. Freeing ourselves from the burden of material possessions. As we journey through life, it becomes increasingly clear that happiness and fulfillment do not come from the things we own. Yet for so much of our lives, we are taught to chase material possessions, believing that success, stability, and even our self-worth are somehow tied to how much we accumulate. So we fill our homes with furniture, closets with clothes, and garages with gadgets we may barely use. We work hard to obtain these things, often thinking that they will bring us lasting joy. But as we grow older, especially after we reach 70, something inside us shifts. Suddenly, we begin to see these possessions for what they truly are: objects that often do little more than take up space, both physically and mentally. This shift in perspective is a beautiful and freeing revelation. We realize that the material items we once thought were essential to happiness are, in fact, just things. They don't define us, and they certainly don't bring the kind of deep, meaningful joy we once hoped they would. In many cases, they become burdens, weighing us down with their sheer presence. The act of holding on to so many things: clothes we no longer wear, furniture we no longer need, or trinkets that no longer hold significance, begins to feel suffocating. And then a moment of clarity arrives. We don't need all of this to be happy. Reaching this understanding can feel like an immense weight being lifted from our shoulders. The objects that once seemed essential no longer have a hold on us. We start to see how little we truly need to live a rich, full life. Letting go of these material possessions becomes one of the most refreshing and liberating experiences of this stage of life. It's as though every item we release creates more space for peace and contentment. The act of decluttering, of ridding ourselves of unnecessary things, feels like a breath of fresh air after years of being surrounded by clutter. This isn't about stripping our lives bare or living with nothing. It's about making an honest, thoughtful assessment of what truly adds value to our lives and what is simply taking up space. It's about embracing simplicity and understanding that more does not always mean better. As we let go of the things that no longer serve us, we are making room for something far more precious: freedom from the need to maintain, store, and worry about these objects. Our physical environment becomes lighter and more organized, and so does our mind. With fewer things around us, there are fewer distractions, fewer responsibilities, and ultimately, more room to focus on what truly matters in life. But the process of letting go is not always easy. Many of the things we hold on to are tied to memories or emotions. We cling to objects because they remind us of a time, a person, or a moment we don't want to forget. It's understandable we fear that by parting with the item, we will somehow lose the memory it represents. But the truth is, memories don't live in things. They live inside of us, in our hearts and minds. The moments that have shaped us, the experiences that have touched our souls, will always be with us, even if the physical object is not. By learning to separate the memory from the material, we honor those special times without the need for cluttered spaces. Imagine, for a moment, a home that is simpler and lighter, where only the things that truly bring you joy or serve a genuine purpose remain. How peaceful that would feel. No longer burdened by the unnecessary, we can finally focus on what is essential. We reconnect with the things that truly matter, the people we love, the experiences that bring us joy, and the moments that make life worth living. This process of simplification becomes a path to clarity, both in our surroundings and in our minds. It's as if we are clearing away the noise, allowing us to see life more clearly, appreciate the richness of the present moment, and feel more connected to our true selves. In this stage of life after 70, we discover something truly profound. True wealth is not in how much we own, but in the freedom to live unburdened by possessions. The less we cling to, the more space we create for new experiences, new relationships, and new moments of meaning. This isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about finding joy not in the material, but in the simplicity of living with intention, of surrounding ourselves with only what truly serves us or makes our hearts happy. And in this process of letting go, we gain something invaluable: peace of mind. No longer are we tied to the relentless pursuit of more. No longer are we weighed down by things we don't need or want. Instead, we are free to enjoy the simple pleasures of life, free to focus on the things that truly bring us joy, and free to live each day with a sense of lightness and ease. It's a freedom that comes from knowing that less can indeed be more, and that the greatest riches in life cannot be bought or owned. They are found in the moments, the experiences, and the connections that fill our hearts, not our homes. So, here's to the freedom of shedding the burden of material possessions. Here's to the clarity that comes with recognizing that things are just things, and they do not define our happiness. As we step into this later stage of life, we are given the gift of perspective, the understanding that true happiness is not about accumulating more, but about appreciating what we already have, and letting go of what no longer serves us. In this simplicity, we find true wealth, the kind of wealth that fills the heart, not the house. 3. Saying no to unnecessary social obligations after 70. There comes a moment in life when we discover a powerful and liberating truth, the ability to say no to unnecessary social obligations. For much of our lives, we've been conditioned to say yes to commitments, to gatherings, to social events we didn't necessarily want to attend, but felt obligated to out of a sense of duty, habit, or the fear of disappointing others. We all know those moments too well, dragging ourselves to family dinners, socializing with distant friends, or attending events where we don't feel comfortable, all because we've been taught that saying no would make us seem selfish or unkind. But at what cost? As we grow older, especially after 70, something profound happens. We begin to value our time and energy differently. The days of feeling obligated to please others, even at the expense of our well-being, start to fade. With age, we learn that life is too precious to spend doing things that drain us or leave us feeling exhausted and unfulfilled. The need to protect our inner peace becomes a priority, and it is through setting boundaries that we reclaim our sense of freedom. This is not about isolating ourselves, but rather about carefully choosing when and where we want to invest our time, so that our social interactions bring us joy and not just a sense of duty. In many cultures, especially in places like Mexico, where family gatherings and celebrations are deeply ingrained in the social fabric, saying no can be particularly difficult. Family parties, baptisms, weddings, and religious events are considered almost sacred. For decades, elders have been expected to attend every gathering, often without question. And for many years, we comply, because we don't want to be seen as rude or ungrateful. But at 70, the script changes. It becomes clear that attending every single event, no matter how big or small, is no longer necessary. It's not about abandoning tradition, but about recognizing when it's simply too much, and when our well-being must come first. This realization that saying no is not a selfish act, but an act of self-care is transformative. So we no longer feel the need to explain ourselves. And we begin to understand that it's perfectly okay to decline invitations, especially when the event no longer adds value to our lives. It's not about cutting ourselves off from the world or turning our back on loved ones. It's about making thoughtful choices about when and how we want to participate in social life. We deserve to reserve our energy for the moments and people that truly matter. Setting boundaries around social obligations also opens up space in our lives for activities that genuinely nourish us. Imagine all the hours spent at events we didn't want to attend. What could we have done with that time? After 70, time becomes a more precious resource than ever, and we start to realize that we'd rather spend it in ways that bring us joy, not stress. Maybe it's spending a peaceful afternoon with a close friend who truly lifts your spirits. Or perhaps it's spending a quiet day at home, curled up with a good book, or going for a slow, gentle walk in the park. These moments, these small, simple pleasures become the true treasures of life. It's also important to remember that learning to say no doesn't mean we love our family or friends any less. It's simply about prioritizing what feels right for us at the moment. When we start attending fewer gatherings, but only go to those we genuinely want to, something amazing happens. Those events become more meaningful. We aren't there because we feel obligated. We're there because we want to be. And that shift in intention makes all the difference. And the interactions feel more authentic, and the moments more enjoyable. Surprisingly, the people around us begin to respect our decisions more too. They see that when we do attend, it's with a full heart, not out of a sense of duty. Another important aspect of saying no to unnecessary obligations is that it teaches those around us the value of our time. When we attend events selectively, the people in our lives start to recognize that when we show up, it's because we truly want to be there. This, in turn, deepens the respect they have for our presence. They begin to appreciate the time we spend with them more because they understand that it's not taken for granted. Our time becomes more valuable, and so does the time we share with others. And beyond that, By setting these boundaries, we give ourselves permission to focus on relationships and activities that truly bring us joy. The relationships that matter are the ones that nurture us, uplift us, and make us feel loved and seen. Instead of scattering our energy at countless social obligations, we can pour ourselves into the connections that truly enrich our lives. We can spend time with the people who fill our hearts, not drain them. Saying no to unnecessary social obligations also invites us to embrace a new kind of freedom. It's the freedom to live life on our terms, to choose how we want to spend our time without guilt or explanation. It's a freedom that allows us to protect our peace, prioritize our health and happiness, and say yes to the things that truly bring us fulfillment. Imagine the weight that lifts off your shoulders when you no longer feel pressured to attend events that don't resonate with you. It's a breath of fresh air, a release from the constant cycle of obligation, and it makes space for more joy, more relaxation, and more of what truly matters. And here's to saying no without guilt. Here's to protecting our energy, our time, and our peace. Here's to recognizing that after 70, we've earned the right to make choices that prioritize our well-being. And here's to embracing the freedom that comes with setting boundaries not as an act of isolation, but as a beautiful way to live more intentionally, more joyfully, and more fully. In doing so, we honor ourselves and ultimately create more meaningful connections with those we truly care about. 4. Embracing authentic beauty. As we journey through life, and particularly after reaching the remarkable milestone of 70, we are offered a gift that society often overlooks: the chance to embrace our authentic beauty. For so long, we've been bombarded with messages from media, advertisements, and cultural pressures that have tried to dictate what beauty should look like. From glossy magazines to endless social media feeds, these images consistently portray beauty as something tied to youth's smooth, flawless skin, slim bodies, and wrinkle-free faces. We are made to feel that aging is something to be resisted, something to be hidden beneath layers of makeup, hair dye, and anti-aging creams. But as we grow older, a profound realization starts to settle in. True beauty has nothing to do with these superficial standards. In our earlier years, many of us chased after that societal ideal of beauty. We spent countless hours and resources trying to keep up with the latest trends and trying to maintain a youthful appearance. But as the years go by, we begin to see that these expectations are not only unrealistic, they are unnecessary. The truth is that beauty is not something that can be defined by the smoothness of our skin or the color of our hair. It's something much deeper, much more enduring. It's in the way we carry ourselves, the confidence we exude, and the wisdom that radiates from a life lived fully. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. At 70, there's a beautiful freedom that comes with accepting ourselves as we are. Wrinkles, instead of being something to hide, become a badge of honor, each one telling a story of the smiles we've shared, the worries we've overcome, and the experiences that have shaped us. Every gray hair is a testament to the wisdom we've earned through the lessons of time. These visible signs of aging are not flaws, they are the markers of a life well lived. And when we begin to see them as such, we can finally release ourselves from the exhausting pursuit of trying to look younger than we are. This stage of life invites us to redefine what beauty means, shifting away from the standards society has imposed on us for so long. Authentic beauty, the kind that emerges after 70, is not found in the reflection of a mirror, but in the richness of our character, in the kindness we show others, and in the peace that comes from knowing who we are at our core. It's a beauty that is felt in the depth of our conversations, in the warmth of our smiles, and in the light that shines from within. It's a beauty that can't be captured in a photograph or altered by makeup. It's a beauty that is timeless, rooted in our authenticity. There's a powerful freedom in no longer feeling the need to impress others with our appearance. After decades of chasing perfection, we come to understand that beauty is not about meeting someone else's standards. It's about embracing ourselves fully, as we are, without apologies or pretensions. We stop worrying about whether our wrinkles are showing or if our hair has turned gray. So we stop comparing ourselves to younger versions of ourselves or to the unrealistic images we see in the media. Instead, we find joy in simply being who we are, right here, right now. And this acceptance of our authentic beauty doesn't just benefit us, it ripples out into the world around us. By embracing who we are, we send a powerful message to younger generations, teaching them that beauty is not something to be measured by physical appearance alone. We show them that true beauty comes from character, integrity, and living in alignment with our values. So we become role models, demonstrating that aging is not something to fear, but something to embrace with grace and dignity. When we stop trying to hide what makes us unique, we allow ourselves to live with more confidence and joy. Instead of worrying about covering up our so-called imperfections, we carry them with pride, knowing they are a part of our story. This is the kind of beauty that transcends time. It's the beauty that tells the world we have lived, we have learned, and we have loved deeply. And that, more than anything, is what makes us beautiful. There is also something profoundly freeing about no longer feeling bound by the fleeting trends of fashion or beauty standards that change with the seasons. We no longer have to keep up with the latest anti-aging craze or the newest beauty regimen promising to turn back the clock. Instead, we can focus on nurturing the parts of ourselves that truly matter, the parts that reflect our soul, our spirit, and our essence. We find beauty in the way we treat others, in the compassion we show, and in the wisdom we offer. As we embrace our authentic beauty, we also begin to see others through a different lens. We no longer judge or value people based on their appearance. Instead, we learn to appreciate the inner richness that we all carry within us. We start to see the beauty in the stories others carry, in the experiences that have shaped them, and in the unique qualities that make them who they are. In doing so, we foster deeper, more meaningful connections with the people around us, connections that are based on love, respect, and mutual understanding rather than superficial judgments. This journey toward embracing our authentic beauty is not just about physical appearance. It's about a shift in perspective. It's about recognizing that beauty is not something that fades with age. It's something that grows richer and deeper as we accumulate experiences and wisdom. It's about letting go of the need for external validation and instead finding validation within ourselves. It's about living fully, authentically, and without fear of judgment. So here's to embracing the beauty that comes with age. Here's to accepting ourselves, wrinkles and all, and celebrating the stories that our bodies tell. Here's to the freedom that comes with no longer striving to meet impossible standards. And here's to living with the confidence and joy that comes from knowing that we are enough, just as we are, in all our authentic beauty. 5. Reevaluating activities that no longer bring joy. As we move through life, our priorities naturally evolve. The activities and routines that once filled our hearts with joy and excitement may no longer hold the same meaning after 70. So this is not something to be feared or resisted. It is a natural part of aging, a time when reflection and renewal become essential parts of our journey. With age comes wisdom, and this wisdom invites us to pause, take stock of our lives, and ask ourselves an important question. Are the things we spend our time on still bringing us happiness, or are we simply going through the motions out of habit or obligation? Life, especially after 70, is too short to continue doing things that no longer fulfill us or have lost their significance. Throughout our younger years, it's easy to fall into patterns. We develop routines, hobbies, and social commitments that once gave us a sense of purpose, say, joy. Maybe it was a sport we loved, a social club we joined, or a hobby we pursued with passion. But as time passes, what once brought us energy can sometimes feel like a burden, a monotonous task that drains us instead of lifts us. So, this is a critical moment of self-awareness, where we realize that clinging to these activities no longer serves our well-being. Reevaluating these activities doesn't mean we're disregarding our past or the joy we once felt. It means recognizing that we've grown, that we've changed, and that what brought us happiness at 30 or 50 may not necessarily fulfill us now. This realization can be incredibly liberating. We're no longer tied to past expectations, and this frees us to embrace the present with an open heart. By letting go of activities that no longer bring us joy, we create space in our lives for new experiences, new joys, and new growth opportunities. This process of reevaluation can be deeply personal and reflective. It's not always easy to let go of routines or hobbies that have been a part of our identity for so long. Sometimes we stick with them simply because they are familiar or because we fear the uncertainty of what comes next. But holding on to activities that no longer serve us only weighs us down. preventing us from experiencing the richness and fullness of life as it is now. Letting go is an act of courage, one that allows us to embrace the unknown and open ourselves up to new possibilities that align more closely with who we are today. There is immense beauty in this phase of life, as we finally have the freedom to consciously choose how we want to spend our time. In earlier stages of life, we often had obligations, whether to our careers, families, or social circles, that consumed our energy and time. But after 70, many of those responsibilities have lessened, leaving us with a rare and precious gift: time. The time that we can now spend in ways that truly nurture our souls, bring us peace, and fulfill our deepest desires. For some, this might mean rekindling an old passion, something we loved but set aside due to life's demands. For others, it might be the excitement of discovering something entirely new, whether it's a hobby, a skill, or an experience that resonates with who we become. Or perhaps it's simply the joy of doing nothing, something that, in previous stages of life, might have seemed indulgent or unthinkable. Now, we can savor the quiet moments, the simple pleasures, and the peace that comes from just being present. And this is where the true value of life lies, not in the quantity of things we do, but in the quality of our experiences. Reevaluating our activities allows us to be more selective with our time and to choose carefully and intentionally what we engage in. We no longer need to participate in things out of a sense of obligation or just because it's something we've always done. Instead, we can give ourselves the gift of reflection, asking ourselves what truly brings us joy, what activities light us up from within, and what no longer resonates with our current self. This process of reevaluation is not just about letting go of what no longer serves us. It's also about making space for deeper connections, for moments of real presence, for the kind of joy that comes from living authentically. By saying goodbye to the activities that have lost their meaning, we invite a sense of lightness and freedom. We open ourselves up to experiencing life in a new way, one that is aligned with our true desires and needs. As we reevaluate our activities, we begin to see life with fresh eyes. We notice the small moments that bring peace and contentment, the beauty of a quiet morning, the joy of a heartfelt conversation, the comfort of being in nature. We start to appreciate the things that we might have overlooked in the rush of our younger years. Instead of filling our time with routine tasks, we focus on what truly fills our souls. Reevaluating our activities also invites us to reflect on how we spend our energy. Are we dedicating our time to things that enrich our lives? Or are we still holding on to activities that feel like obligations? By letting go of the need to keep up with old habits, we free ourselves to explore new interests, develop deeper relationships, and enjoy the simple pleasures that we may have once taken for granted. This is a time to reconnect with what matters most, whether it's spending time with loved ones, indulging in creative pursuits, or simply being at peace with ourselves. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our days in a way that brings us fulfillment and happiness, and that we are not bound by the expectations of others or even by our past routines. So here's to embracing this stage of life as a time for reevaluation and renewal. Here's to the courage to let go of what no longer serves us, and the wisdom to know that it's okay to move on. By choosing to focus on what truly brings us joy, we allow ourselves to live more fully, more freely, and more authentically. Life after 70 is not about sticking to what we've always done. It's about discovering new ways to experience happiness, peace, and fulfillment. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to the incredible possibilities that await us, free from the weight of unnecessary routines and obligations. 6. Cutting ties with toxic relationships. Throughout our lives, relationships are a cornerstone of our happiness and well-being. They shape us, support us, and offer companionship through life's many ups and downs. But not all relationships are created equal. Some, instead of nurturing us, become sources of stress, emotional exhaustion, or even deep pain. By the time we reach 70, we've accumulated enough wisdom and experience to see with greater clarity which relationships bring us joy and which ones drain us. This newfound perspective offers us a rare opportunity to make the courageous and often difficult decision to cut ties with those whose presence in our lives has become toxic or harmful. Many of us have maintained certain friendships or family relationships for years, not out of genuine love or connection, but out of habit, obligation, or fear of judgment from others. We may feel a sense of duty to keep these connections alive, especially when family or long-term friendships are involved. But over time, enduring a relationship that consistently brings us down or makes us feel inadequate is not only unhealthy, it's detrimental to our emotional and mental well-being. At this stage of life, our well-being must take precedence. We deserve to prioritize peace, happiness, and emotional safety over any obligation to maintain toxic ties. The toxic relationships come in many forms. Sometimes they involve individuals who constantly criticize us, belittle our achievements, or make us question our self-worth. So other times, they are people who take advantage of our kindness, offering little in return, but draining our energy and joy. In some cases, these relationships may even involve manipulation, control, or emotional abuse, leaving us feeling trapped and unhappy. Over time, we come to realize that these connections generate far more suffering than they do happiness, preventing us from living a full and peaceful life. Breaking free from these harmful relationships is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-love, self-respect, and self-compassion. It is a recognition that we deserve to surround ourselves with people who lift us, who value our presence, and who support our growth. Sometimes, the fear of conflict or the guilt of hurting someone's feelings holds us back from deciding to distance ourselves. But it's important to remember that taking care of ourselves is not just a right, it's a necessity. When we prioritize our emotional health, we give ourselves permission to thrive, free from the weight of someone else's negativity. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Letting go of toxic relationships creates space for healthier, more meaningful connections to flourish, or even for us to simply enjoy the peace that comes with our own company. There is a profound sense of liberation that comes with shedding the emotional burdens that toxic people place upon us. However, it's essential to acknowledge that this process is rarely easy. Cutting ties, especially with someone we've known for a long time or someone we're related to, can stir up feelings of guilt, sadness, or even grief. We may mourn the relationship we wished we had or the potential we once saw in that person. But in the long run, letting go of these harmful connections will only serve to improve our overall happiness and emotional health. It's also crucial to understand that we are not obligated to maintain relationships just because of the time we've invested in them or the family ties that bind us. The quality of our relationships matters far more than their length or their origins. We must let go of the idea that longevity or blood ties justify enduring emotional harm. It is far better to have a few deeply fulfilling and supportive relationships than to maintain a multitude of toxic connections that leave us feeling drained. By cutting ties with those who hurt or hinder us, we also free up time and energy to focus on the relationships that truly matter, the ones that lift us, support us in good times and bad, and celebrate our victories alongside us. These are the relationships that nourish our souls, help us grow, and bring true joy and connection into our lives. These are the relationships worth cherishing. And when we choose to let go of the toxic ones, we make space to nurture and deepen the healthy ones. Moreover, by making the bold decision to cut ties with toxic people, we send ourselves a powerful message. We deserve better. We deserve to be treated with respect, kindness, and love. This act of liberation not only improves our emotional health, but also sets a new standard for how we expect to be treated in all future relationships. We begin to see the early signs of toxicity more clearly, and we learn to set boundaries that protect our emotional well-being from the start. It's a process that allows us to live more authentically, free from the weight of toxic dynamics, and focused on what truly matters: our inner peace, happiness, and emotional freedom. In many ways, cutting ties with toxic relationships is a step toward reclaiming our power. For years, we may have felt trapped, drained, or manipulated by these relationships, but once we break free, we realize just how strong we are. It takes immense courage to step away from something that no longer serves us, especially when that relationship has been a fixture in our lives for so long. But once we do, we open the door to a more fulfilling, lighter existence, one where our energy is reserved for the people who truly care for us, and where our emotional health is no longer compromised by negativity. This act of liberation allows us to live with more intention, more joy, and more clarity about who we are and what we deserve. It's about acknowledging that our time is precious and that the people we choose to spend it with should bring light into our lives, not darkness. It's about knowing that, at 70 and beyond, we no longer have to settle for relationships that hurt us or drain us. Instead, we can choose to surround ourselves with love, support, and kindness, and in doing so, we can create a life filled with peace, fulfillment, and happiness. So here's to cutting ties with toxic relationships, not as an act of isolation, but as an act of self-respect. Here's to setting boundaries that protect our hearts and reclaiming our energy for the people and experiences that truly bring us joy. And here's to embracing this stage of life with the wisdom and strength to prioritize what matters most: our well-being, our peace, and our happiness. 7. Redefining goals that are no longer relevant. Throughout life, we are driven by goals and dreams that often reflect the social, familial, and personal expectations that dominate each stage. In our youth, our ambitions might be fueled by the desire to build a successful career, raise a family, accumulate wealth, or achieve significant milestones that we believe are key to our well-being and happiness. These aspirations serve as guiding lights for many years, giving us purpose and a sense of direction. However, as we reach the age of 70, many of these goals lose their relevance or meaning. This isn't a failure, but a natural and inevitable shift in how we view life and what we find important. At 70, the process of redefining our goals is not only natural, it is essential for living with renewed purpose and fulfillment. The wisdom that comes with age allows us to reflect on our past goals and to ask whether they still hold the same importance. We may realize that some of the ambitions we chased for decades no longer resonate with us. Perhaps we've already achieved them, or maybe they simply don't align with who we've become. Through redefining our goals at this stage is not about giving up on our dreams. It's about adjusting our expectations to match the reality of our present selves, focusing on what truly brings joy, meaning, and satisfaction. This act of redefining involves letting go of goals that no longer serve us or feel relevant. For instance, if our primary focus in the past was professional success, we might now find that work is no longer the center of our lives. Instead, we may be drawn to spending more time with family, immersing ourselves in personal hobbies, or seeking a life of greater tranquility and peace. These new priorities reflect the growth we've experienced and the wisdom we've gained from a lifetime of experiences. One of the most liberating aspects of redefining our goals is the ability to focus on what genuinely makes us happy, rather than continuing to chase achievements that no longer matter. As we move through different phases of life, it's easy to get caught up in external pressures, whether they come from society, family, or even ourselves. Perhaps we spent much of our lives striving for material success or recognition, believing that these things would bring lasting fulfillment. But as we age, we often discover that what truly matters are the memories we've made, the relationships we've nurtured, and the moments of peace and contentment that fill our days. By redefining our goals, we free ourselves from the need to meet outdated expectations. This shift in perspective allows us to focus on our present desires, rather than clinging to the ambitions of our past. It's about recognizing that life is fluid, and our goals should evolve with us. The things that mattered to us in our 30s or 50s may no longer hold the same importance, and that's perfectly okay. It's a sign of growth and wisdom to recognize when a goal no longer serves us, and to have the courage to let it go. Letting go of outdated goals also means letting go of the habit of comparing ourselves to others. Throughout life, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring our success against those around us. We might envy others' achievements or feel pressured to keep up with their progress. But as we age, we come to realize that success and happiness are not one size fits all. What brings joy to someone else may be completely different from what brings joy to us. And that's the beauty of life. We each have our unique path. By abandoning comparisons, we allow ourselves to embrace a sense of gratitude for what we've already accomplished and for the simple things that enrich our lives now. Instead of constantly asking whether we measure up to others, we can begin asking whether we measure up to our ideals and desires. This shift in mindset brings peace and satisfaction as we stop chasing external validation and start valuing our personal growth. It frees us from the pressure of meeting society's expectations and lets us focus on living authentically in alignment with who we truly are. Living in a constant state of comparison robs us of the joy of our achievements. How often have we accomplished something significant only to minimize it because it doesn't seem as impressive compared to someone else's success. When we engage in this kind of thinking, we strip our accomplishments of their worth, reducing them to mere check marks on a list rather than moments to be celebrated. But when we let go of the need to compare, we regain the ability to take pride in our successes, no matter how big or small they may seem in the eyes of others. One of the greatest freedoms we experience after 70 is the ability to be fully and unapologetically ourselves, without the need to impress or compete with anyone. At this stage, we realize that the only thing that truly matters is how we feel about the life we've built and the person we've become. By freeing ourselves from the weight of comparison, we allow ourselves to live more authentically, enjoying our achievements and recognizing our strengths without the constant distraction of others' lives. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, we also free our minds from the anxiety and pressure that comparison brings. Instead of focusing on what we lack or what others have, we can redirect our energy toward what truly matters: our health, our meaningful relationships, and the moments of joy and peace that we create for ourselves. Letting go of the burden of comparison allows us to find greater satisfaction in our journey, appreciating the life we've lived and the path we continue to walk. Ultimately, redefining our goals after 70 is about living with intention and purpose. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our lives in a way that reflects our true values and desires. We no longer need to chase achievements for the sake of it, nor do we need to live up to someone else's idea of success. Instead, we can focus on the things that bring us joy, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply enjoying the beauty of a quiet, peaceful day. In redefining our goals, we permit ourselves to live more freely and authentically. We let go of the need to prove ourselves, and instead focus on what truly matters: our inner peace, our well-being, and the connections we share with those who matter most. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to the possibility of experiencing life in a new and more meaningful way, unburdened by the weight of irrelevant goals and the expectations of others. So here's to redefine our goals, not as an act of giving up, but as an act of embracing who we are now. Here's to focusing on what truly brings us happiness, and to live with the freedom that comes from knowing that we no longer have anything to prove except to ourselves. 8. Prioritizing your happiness without guilt. By the time we reach 70, we've spent decades fulfilling roles, meeting expectations, and often putting others' needs ahead of our own. This stage of life offers us the unique opportunity to prioritize our happiness without guilt, a concept that can feel unfamiliar after so many years of responsibilities. For whether out of love, duty, or social pressure, we've been conditioned to care for others, sometimes at the expense of our well-being. But now, as we enter this golden phase of life, it's the perfect moment to pause, reflect, and recognize the importance of caring for ourselves and embracing joy without the weight of remorse. Prioritizing our happiness isn't about selfishness, it's about self-compassion. It takes courage to acknowledge that, after years of tending to others, we too deserve to live fully, enjoying the richness life has to offer. For many, the very idea of putting personal happiness first can be difficult. We might have grown up believing that our worth is tied to how much we give to emotion, and that we are only valuable when we sacrifice for those around us. So this mindset, while born from love, can often lead to a life of self-neglect, where our dreams and desires take a backseat. Over time, this sacrifice can create feelings of dissatisfaction, a subtle emptiness that lingers, because we haven't allowed ourselves the space to pursue what truly brings us joy. It is essential, especially now, to shift our mindset. Pursuing our happiness is not only acceptable but necessary. By doing so, we free ourselves from the emotional burden of constantly justifying our choices or seeking the approval of others. Prioritizing our happiness doesn't mean abandoning those we care about. It means recognizing that our well-being is just as important. In this stage of life, we finally have the freedom to explore new hobbies, rediscover forgotten passions, or engage in relationships that truly fulfill us without needing to explain or apologize. Part of this journey towards self-prioritization involves learning to say no. Over the years, we may have found ourselves saying yes to commitments, social obligations, or favors that didn't align with our interests or drained our energy. Whether it's attending events we don't enjoy, spending time with people who don't uplift us, or engaging in activities that no longer resonate. These unnecessary commitments can leave us feeling exhausted and disconnected from our desires. But now, at this stage, we can permit ourselves to set boundaries, to say no when something doesn't bring us joy, and to say yes to the things that do. Saying no isn't about rejecting others. It's about reclaiming our time and energy for the things that matter most to us. It's about recognizing that we have the right to protect our peace and to dedicate ourselves to activities that fill our hearts. Whether it's spending time with loved ones, picking up a hobby we once adored, or simply enjoying quiet moments of self-care, saying no to what drains us allows us to say yes to what fulfills us. This act of putting our happiness first can be transformative, revealing a version of ourselves that we may not have seen in years, a version that is fully alive, vibrant, and in tune with our own needs. Of course, this journey toward prioritizing happiness can also stir up feelings of guilt. For so long, we've been programmed to think of others first. The idea of putting ourselves at the center of our own lives can feel foreign, even selfish. But it's important to remember that taking care of ourselves does not mean neglecting others. When we are happy, content, and at peace, we are far better equipped to offer love, support, and care to those around us. By filling our cups, we have more to give. The joy we experience when we prioritize our happiness is contagious. It can inspire others, friends, family, even younger generations to also value their emotional well-being. In this way, by caring for ourselves, we create an environment where everyone feels free to pursue their happiness. It becomes clear that when we prioritize our joy, we are not only investing in ourselves, but also setting a powerful example for those around us. Our lives become a testament to the importance of balance, of giving to others, yes, but also of giving to ourselves. Another crucial element in this process is self-compassion. Guilt often arises from our self-criticism, from questioning whether we are doing the right thing by putting ourselves first. Cultivating self-compassion helps us to be kind to ourselves and to acknowledge that our needs, desires, and happiness are valid. Here we deserve to live with joy, regardless of societal expectations or the beliefs we once held about self-worth. Letting go of guilt and embracing self-compassion is a key step in freeing ourselves from the chains of years of self-sacrifice. When we practice self-compassion, we begin to see our happiness as a legitimate priority, one that enhances our lives and brings us long-term well-being. Prioritizing our happiness without guilt is a form of self-love, and it allows us to live more authentically. Instead of being weighed down by the pressure to please everyone else, we can focus on the things that bring us genuine joy and peace. Each day becomes an opportunity to explore what makes us feel alive, what fills us with contentment, and what adds value to our lives. At this stage of life, it's time to recognize that we are the center of our journey. We deserve to make choices that prioritize our happiness, and we should do so unapologetically. In doing this, we honor the life we have lived, the lessons we have learned, and the experiences that have shaped us. Prioritizing our happiness allows us to make the most of the time we have, to savor the beauty of each day, and to embrace the joy that comes from living in alignment with our true selves. By focusing on our happiness, we also send a powerful message to ourselves: we are worth it. We are worth the time, the effort, and the love it takes to live fully and joyfully. And in embracing this, we not only improve our own lives, but also enrich the lives of those around us by sharing our light, our joy, and our peace. So, here's to prioritizing our happiness without guilt. Here's to recognizing that self-care is not selfish, but essential. And here's to living each day with the freedom and joy that come from knowing that our happiness is a gift we deserve to give ourselves now and always. 9. Reflection and moving forward. As we conclude this exploration of how to live fully after reaching 70 years of age, it's essential to pause and reflect on the lessons and insights we've shared. Each topic, from freeing ourselves from material burdens to redefining our goals and prioritizing our happiness, has invited us to see life from a new, empowering perspective. This stage of life is a time of transformation, a precious opportunity to shed the things that no longer serve us and fully embrace the joys and experiences that truly enrich our lives. We've learned that one of the greatest freedoms we can claim is the ability to stop worrying about what others think, the courage to say no to unnecessary social obligations, and the wisdom to cut ties with toxic relationships are pivotal steps toward a more authentic, fulfilling life. As we consciously surround ourselves with people and experiences that nourish our spirits, we rediscover our true selves. The comparisons and outdated goals that once weighed us down are replaced with a deeper understanding of what truly matters. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. At this stage of life, we begin to see authentic beauty everywhere in the lines that mark our faces from years of laughter, in the relationships we nurture, and in the simple joys of everyday life. This is the time to act on that understanding. Now is the perfect moment to start applying these concepts to your daily life. I encourage you to take this wisdom and make it real. Begin by creating a list of the things you've been postponing out of fear, pressure, or habit. What have you always wanted to do but hesitated to pursue? What brings you joy that you set aside? Allow yourself to experience the freedom and happiness that comes from doing what truly fills your heart. To create a space, whether physical or emotional, where you can reflect on the activities, relationships, and routines in your life. And take the time to evaluate which ones genuinely bring you happiness and which ones drain your energy. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being. It's one of the most important and loving things you can do for yourself. The guilt we often carry when we focus on ourselves is misplaced. Seeking your happiness is a valid, beautiful pursuit. I also encourage you to share your reflections with those around you, friends, family, loved ones. By openly discussing your journey toward authenticity and happiness, you may inspire others to join you on this path. Your journey can be a powerful example for others, encouraging them to live more fully too. This stage of life is not just a time of reflection. It's a time to move forward with purpose and clarity. Remember, life is a precious gift. It is not something to be merely endured, but something to be savored, celebrated, and lived with passion and joy. We are deserving of all the love and happiness that life has to offer. Now, take a deep breath and express gratitude for the lessons you've learned, the wisdom you've gained, and the experiences that have shaped you. As you move forward, remember that you are the protagonist of your story. This is your time to live fully and authentically. So, start your journey toward true happiness today. Embrace the beauty of the present moment, release the burdens of the past, and step confidently into a life where joy, peace, and fulfillment are at the forefront. You've earned it, and you are more than worthy of it. As we come to the end of this journey, I hope these reflections and insights have resonated with you. Life after 70 is a time to embrace freedom, authenticity, and the happiness that comes from truly living for yourself. And now I'd love to hear from you. What have you learned so far? Take a moment to think about everything we've discussed. What is one thing you'll take with you and apply to your life starting today? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave your comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Thank you for watching. And here's to living fully and authentically.